Continuing to go through my files that I've recently discovered. Well, not discovered, just revisited. We're going to look at some of these in a very appropriate location. They've dug up the grass to replant. Where is he? About here, I think. This is what Sinatra's grave originally looked like when he was first buried, and recently his stone has been changed to what it looks like now, putting more emphasis on the daughters and not his last wife, Barbara. And that was down to his daughters, and they're not really... They say the stone was stolen. I believe it had more to do with the daughter's feelings about his wife and wanting to take dear husband off of it. So my Frank Sinatra files are here, and there's a lot of files here actually, and they're all over the place. Heart attack fell Sinatra's first wife, mother of his 3 children, and the plucky 90-year-old is downplaying her life or death ordeal. So she's not dead yet, at least in that. You'll do it my way. Sinatra branded, oh, I can't say that word. Wow, who says that? Susan Murphy levels the charge of really released book. Okay, can't really go there. This must have been when he first died. The song has ended, but the melody lingers on. Nice. Somebody sent me these. I don't know who. Thank you, whoever that is. This is every time I ran into anything having to do with Sinatra, I saved it in this file. Stella Adler Theater. So I must have seen this play. What's this? Sinatra's daughter slams his widow. See? Frank Sinatra would still be alive today if he hadn't married his 4th and last wife, Barbara Marx. She's right here. Want to have a look at her? It's okay. It's okay. It's just the way it is. You can't stop. I thought this would be fun to do here at Frank's grave, but because of the wind and a bit of the noise, I'm going to close my my Frank Sinatra file, and we'll go through it one by one at my house. So yeah, let's take this home and have a look at it. It's a bit more peaceful in our controlled environment. So as I mentioned before, I've had this in storage for many years. Haven't really looked at it, so I figured since I'm going to get rid of all my files, I could look at it with you. So we peeked at this one at the cemetery. His heart attack fells Frank Sinatra's first wife. So this was first Nancy, and I didn't save the address. The plucky 90-year-old is downplaying her life or death ordeal. She wasn't dead yet. This is a play, Friends of Frank. I must have seen this. Stella Adler Theater. So yeah, I did see that. I don't remember anything about it, but... And these are the original pictures of Frank's grave. This must have been, I don't know, maybe shortly after his funeral. The song is ended, but the melody lingers on. So yeah, this must have been shortly after they buried him. The Inquirer, June 2nd, 1998. The Sinatra special. So they had this one ready to go when he was gone. When he was going. Let's see. Will Smith and ex-wife. Boy, that's newsy these days. Where's Sinatra? Lou Rawls, lung surgery won't keep me down. Guess what did happen? I went to his funeral, actually. He was dressed very well. Purple suit, red cap. Okay, his brave last hours. Confided in him, Frank was ready to go. He almost willed it. Barbara told us how pleased she was that Frank's health was... No, that's not true. Humble Hoboken to King of the Hill. Sinatra's frantic hospital battle and touching deathbed scene with his wife. The kids weren't there. Some people say that she didn't tell them on purpose. Poor Frank had no fight left in him. He whispered in her ear, "I'm losing." Then he closed his eyes and died. 10:30 p.m. and the world had lost its most celebrated entertainer, a generous philanthropist. Sinatra and the Mob. The Man in His Movies. Old Blue Eyes' Greatest Loves. Frank's last wife showed him true love in his final years. And with that, look at that. Oh my gosh, this is an industry. Sinatra's death was an industry. Funeral sparks family feud. Death was detonated. An explosive family feud with his two daughters pitted against Barbara. Just stand back. It's going to be brutal, said a family source. They believe Barbara's already getting more than her fair share of Sinatra's estate. Their overriding fear is that if they don't fight her now, control of the unique financial empire combining matchless songs and commercial ventures built up by their father will pass when Barbara dies to someone outside the family. Her 47-year-old son, Robert Marx. That's so creepy, that whole thing. They say that she was trying to get Frank to adopt her son. So, it's so icky. Money makes people so icky. Sinatra's daughter slams his widow. Sinatra would still be alive today if he hadn't married his fourth and last wife. Barbara Marx charges the legendary singer's daughter, Nancy. He made one huge mistake in his life, says Nancy. She was cruel, absolutely cruel. He died on May 14th, 1998, at the age of 82, but his children never even knew he was on his deathbed. Barbara didn't tell us he was dying, confides Nancy. We didn't know until after he was dead, and we were 5 minutes from the hospital. Yet, she called his publicist and road manager who got to the hospital on time. It's unforgivable. I still have nightmares about it. The people he wanted were not there. And that makes me furious. And if that's true, I don't blame her. Nancy Sinatra, a sex image, changed her failure to success. My hair's blonder, my skirt shorter, my boots are higher. She's only 27 here. I don't want to be a businesswoman. I want to get married again. Her first marriage to singer Tommy Sands ended in divorce. Raise a family and devote my time to my husband. For me, marriage and a career can't mix. We just saw her. How long ago was that, Troy? About 6 months ago, 8 months ago. She was doing a launch of her album reissue. And Allison Martino, our friend Allison, moderated a Q&A with her. It was very interesting. Oh, it was actually just an A. There were no Q's, really. This is from the Daily Mail, so I was living in England, I guess, when this happened. Battle over Sinatra's will. Sinatra took his last secret to the grave yesterday, the contents of his will known only to himself and his lawyer. Haunting voice echoed in... They're getting ready for the feud, they're saying. Frank from here to eternity. The Sinatra prepares to do battle. So this must have been, May 16th, 1998. Yeah, so that was right after. So this is all speculative, but man, like I said, it was an industry. Each had risen to the very top. Frank with his voice of bedroom honey. Ava with alabaster beauty. When they finally ignited together, the sparks singed every single person in their lives. I think that would be agreed upon that that was a bad mix. Frank loved Bugsy Siegel. And he had an affair with who? I know it was supposed to be Nancy Reagan. Onassis' death gave Jackie her independence, an invitation to one of Frank Sinatra's New York concerts, followed by dinner at the 21 Club, an overture to a secret liaison. So, and there's Frank with Marilyn. But yeah, the rumors that he and Nancy Reagan were doing it. Nancy Sinatra sobs, "Connie, how dare you?" Bitter Connie Chung. After the TV news star called Old Blue Eyes a womanizer and a boozer before an audience of millions. The Sinatras are hopping mad and devoted daughters. So this is in 2000? Connie Chung callously insulted Frank's memory during a live interview with Wayne Newton. But Connie told the Inquirer her remarks were misunderstood. "I characterized Mr. Sinatra's spirited days in Las Vegas in order to draw a lighthearted contrast between the new and the legendary Las Vegas." So they were hopping mad. You reduced his 60-year career and over $1 billion raised for charity to a womanizer and a boozer. A user and a loser. I stole the TV. The Mafia File on Frank. Oh, so that was released. Okay, that was December of 98, so... Frank Sinatra, this is more about the files. So this is Freedom of Information Act files on Sinatra. Kind of, man, I don't remember, I'm big on mob stories. Sinatra has the last laugh thanks to a lager advert. This is December of 98. The first Frank Sinatra single since the singer's death in May is to be released early next year thanks to a lager advertisement. The late crooner's estate gave permission for the George Gershwin song, They All Laughed, to go on sale after the new year. It will then have been heard hundreds of times as the theme to a new $3 million dollars, or, money, Carlsberg Lager Christmas advert. The song has appeared on Sinatra albums, but has never been released as a single. Sinatra, threat from the grave. Children will lose everything if they contest the will, giving the wife the bulk of the cash. The children of Frank Sinatra face being cut off without a penny if they contest the terms of the will, which was open today, leaving almost the entire fortune to his fourth wife. Well, I hate her. Hate her. Sinatra heals family split from the grave. The will can't be challenged. He reached out during the grave last night to heal his family's bitter rift by banning anyone contesting the will. He left the detailed 29-page document, which carefully divided the massive £135 million fortune between his widow, Barbara, and the 3 children by his first wife. Generous Frank, who died last Thursday of a massive heart attack, left his priceless sheet music, including smash hits like Strangers in the Night, to Frank Jr. Frank Jr. and his sisters Nancy, Tina, each receive $125,000 lump sums, as well as the lucrative joint ownership of the company. Sinatra also set up a $660,000, that'd be about $1 million, trust, found for Nancy's 2 children, Amanda and Angeline Jennifer. The bulk of his 5 mansions worth $200 million goes to the 4th wife, Barbara. Night and day, Hollywood says farewell. So he had his funeral was at Good Shepherd. I wish I'd have gone to that. I wish I could have gone to that. That'd have been interesting. Tom Selleck, Jack Lemmon arrive along with Frank in the casket. There's Nancy getting ready to escort her father's casket. The vigil at the Good Shepherd Catholic Church, which also did like Errol Flynn and Alfred Hitchcock and the Del Rubio triplets, and who else? Oh, gosh. Rudolph Valentino. So many people were buried out of Good Shepherd. Then burial in the family plot in Palm Springs. A modest grave. Liza Minnelli, Jack Lemmon at Sinatra's funeral. In the final volume of Proust, the narrator enters a room and sees many old friends and wonders why they all wearing wrinkly masks, and they have dyed their hair white. Then he realizes that they have grown old. I feel rather the same as I stepped into the Church of the Good Shepherd, Beverly Hills, on Wednesday. Could that old God, I can't even read this, piratical figure with an eye patch really be Jack Lemmon? Bob Dylan looked old, as did the Beverly Sisters. Yeah, interesting. Sinatra's kids battling as he sinks into senility, rapidly deteriorating health, raging at me, demanding to be released. Barbara told a friend, I feared he was going to have another heart attack. Daughters and Frank Jr. ganged up on Barbara after their dad got home, accusing her of putting his life at risk. Nancy angrily told Barbara, Dad doesn't know what day it is, and you've allowed him to bully you into bringing him home. It's just plain stupidity. He should be in a hospital where he belongs. Hurt by Nancy's accusations, Barbara broke down in tears. He won't listen to anyone, she said. Barbara was heartbroken. Sinatra's brain is ravaged by creeping senility, and his failing heart threatens to stop at any time. Oh, one of those comics after he died. You missed it, man. What a party. The Rat Pack are together again. Is it a body? Oh, still about the feud and the money. Kirk Douglas was among the people who paid their respects. I wonder if he drove home after that. Because one time I was going past Kirk Douglas's house, and he was pulling into the driveway, and he slammed. They had to put these concrete little barricade parking things in front of the house. Otherwise, he would have hit the house. I watched it. Sinatra feud. Bad blood boils between his wife and Frank's kids. Sinatra's will. Frank split up his $200 million fortune his way. These are kind of boring. Sinatra's kids fight his wife over doped up dad. Kids finally get in touch with Frank's doctors early in January and pleaded with them to try a change in treatment, but the doctors have a powerful ally in Frank's wife, Barbara. She has the final word. It's really sad when how fame and money, just sad. Oh, Norman Feld died. Due to production problems, the headline on page 33, beloved sitcom Grouch, Norman Feld dying of cancer, is incorrect. Mr. Feld died as we went to press. The story, however, fully up to date and contains complete details on the much-admired actor's tragic passing. The very rare time they have to publish a retraction. Old Blue Eye's bizarre birthday bash from beyond. Frank Sinatra's feuding daughters, Nancy and Tina, celebrated their late father's birthday with separate parties, one lively, one somber. Nancy tossed a swinging bash at her Beverly Hills home the day before her dad would have turned 83. Guests were greeted by Frank's classic songs. Scattered about were bowls of Frank's favorite candies, Tootsie Rolls and licorice. The entree was his favorite dish, eggplant parmesan, prepared by his first wife, Nancy. The next night, Tina's home 5 blocks away. She held a quiet affair straight out of The Godfather to Frank. People were more sedate and more blacks as a guest. Tina's gathering was more like a formal service. All right. Sinatra's in an Oscar performance. Nancy, Tina, and Frank stand united with their father in annoyance with he was ignored at the Oscars. Oh, Sinatra's way to stop family feuds. In a bid to prevent further family squabbles over the fortune, Frank Sinatra did it his way, published yesterday in his will. His final testament contained a clause that any beneficiary who challenges will be cut off without a penny. Sinatra takes one for the road. He's buried with some of his favorite things: a bottle of Jack Daniels whiskey, a pack of Camels, and a Zippo lighter, and 10 dimes. It said carrying the dimes dated back to the 1963 kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr., when his father wanted to make sure he always had pay-phone change. I think it came from Frankie's kidnapping, maybe before. She said he never wanted to get caught not being able to make a phone call. He always carried 10 dimes. She placed the dimes in his pocket. Her sister Nancy put the bottle of whiskey in and slipped the cigarettes in. I like when people do that. Celebrities honor Frank at a gala. Got a lot of stuff to get through. Sun sues to stop movie deal for kidnappers. Wow, he filed a lawsuit to stop the men who kidnapped him 34 years ago. This is Frank Jr. from collecting a portion of the reported $1.5 million for movie rights to the story. Oh, that's bad. That's like that lady who sued Lady Gaga because she stole the pets. And she deserved the reward because no questions asked. Celebs are dead best. Frank Sinatra funeral mass, Wednesday, May 20th at noon, Good Shepherd. Right. Muggers oh yeah, this is a good story. Muggers have pounced on Frank Sinatra's widow in Beverly Hills, robbing her of treasured gift he gave her. Just 5 weeks after he died, Barbara and 3 friends were ambushed in a quiet street. I can't believe that they were walking in Beverly Hills down that street. It makes no sense. But they were, they went for a stroll at 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. I don't believe it. Something's up with that. But the 3 thugs were probably unaware of their victim's celebrity status. The attack was over in less than 30 seconds after the gang intimidated and threatened the victims. They were confronted by 3 males in their 20s who demanded money and the property. They grabbed Mrs. Sinatra. Then Amanda Frank was around, though. That wouldn't have lasted. Mugged $11,000 in cash and jewels. I can't believe they'd be driving, or they'd be walking on that street. Okay, we already saw that one. Oh, color pictures of the funeral. Steve Lawrence, Don Rickles were pallbearers. Cardinal Mahoney. Celebrity chasers with cars in their eyes. An auction. This must have been a Frank Sinatra car. Yeah. The 1989 Jaguar, previously owned by Frank Sinatra, only 10,000 miles on the clock. So it was up for auction. I saved everything. New Rat Pack. Oh, this is that show in Vegas, I think. Or no, a movie about them. Frank Sinatra's funeral. Sinatra legend lives on. The Rat Pack show. My mom must have sent these to me. Oh, these are LA. Then my friend Steve must have sent them. Steve, my old buddy from Graveline. Another Sinatra feud. Apparent heart attack sidelines. This is in January of '97. Hospitalized with an apparent heart attack just 2 days after being released from another. New hospital crisis. Suffering another heart attack. Frank Sinatra hospitalized of a pinched nerve. This is in '96. It's a pinched nerve, that's all there is. Collapses on stage. I think I remember that. '94, March of '94. Richmond, Virginia. 2 hours after he was wheeled into the emergency room and walked out of the hospital after. Frank Sinatra became overheated and passed out for a few moments on stage. His vital signs are stable. His talking is alert. He was driven off. Wow, right on stage. That would have been something. Oh, this must have been when it happened. Somebody had their camera ready. His hairpiece stayed on. I'll do it. That's Sinatra Jr. 20 months after his father died, Frank Sinatra Jr. has announced he is dropping the Jr. Haggard Sinatra stuns pals. Looks stunned. Frail stunned pals showed up for dinner looking great. I wonder where they went. Favorite Mateo's, yeah. We had a dinner there once. Tina Sinatra's ex gets the kiss of death. A nightmarish chain of freaky events put Tina Sinatra's ex-husband in an early grave. Supermarket king Richard Cohen was with second wife Barbara Harris at a Beverly Hills dinner party when he started choking on a piece of steak. A physician at the party tried to dislodge the obstruction by using the Heimlich maneuver, but his squeeze broke a rib that punctured his lung. Whoa. Doctor then desperately tried to keep Cohen alive by giving him mouth-to-mouth. Unfortunately, he had just, oh God, unfortunately the medic had just eaten nuts, which he was highly allergic to. That's crazy. And he went to a coma. Tina married Cohen in 81, but they split a year later. Wow. That's crazy. That's so sad. Man, talk about, that's your time. That's when you know. Let's see. Frank Sinatra's house is, unfortunately, Sinatra's house is like a fortress. Thank you, Mark. Oh, this is the same one I have. Okay, we saw that already. This is a copy of his funeral mass thing. Introductory rites, Bill Miller, Cardinal Mahoney, choir and conversation, Cardinal Mahoney. Choir sings, the Lord's Prayer, communion, put your dreams away, closing prayer. Remembrances, Kirk Douglas, Robert Marx, that must be the son, or the Barbara's son, Gregory Peck, George Schlatter from Laugh In fame, Frank Sinatra Jr. and Robert Wagner. Cardinal Mahoney, may the angels lead you to paradise. And these are the participants. Tony Bennett, Angie Dickinson, Kirk Douglas. Oh, there's some names in here. Nancy Sinatra Lambert, Alan King, Bob Newhart, Gregory Peck, Sidney Poitier, Frank Jr., Tina Sinatra, Dorothy Ullman, Paul Bearers, Steve Lawrence, Robert Marx, Don Rickles, Frank Jr., Elliot Wiseman, Honorary, Wayne Newton, Tony Bennett, Milton Berle, Gregory Peck, Ernest Borgnine, George Schlatter again, Kirk Douglas, Quincy Jones, Billy May, Jerry Weintraub. Sinatra branded I'm not going to say the word, but a new Susan Murphy levels devastating that word charge in a shocking, recently released book. Sinatra, The Life and Times of Old Blue Eyes, forced him into a wild night of partying. Me against Frank Sinatra. Murphy tells author, so I just kept my mouth shut. Yeah. These are, that house is long gone, but there's the pictures of the gates from the house. 915. The Chinese Theater, his footprints. That's Hoboken. Why am I having a problem with that word? And these were sent to me by Stacy. Sinatra's brave battle, gasping for air, he coughed blood. He stumbled around like a zombie. He was crippled by heart pain, but Frank defied worried docs. Elvis and Sinatra lusted. King of rock and roll and the chairman of the board shared more than celebrity. They also shared a passion for kinky sex and wild orgies, according to a blockbuster new book. Against the Wind, former TV producer adds, Elvis enjoyed great performances both on screen and in the bedroom. Hot and heavy. After disappearing in one of the bedrooms, Frank came prancing out in a bra and panties he'd taken off one of the girls. There's an image. Nancy swipes Sinatra's congressional medal from his grieving widow. How ugly was that? How ugly. And a nasty slap in the face to Frank Sinatra's widow. His daughter Nancy snatched Old Blue Eyes' coveted congressional gold medal from under her grieving stepmother's nose. Well, ugly, ugly, ugly. Ailing Sinatra, home and well. That's January 98. Ailing Frank's got 3 cakes for his 82nd birthday. Banana coconut and Boston cream pie. More than 100,000 greetings from around the globe.
Sinatra turns to prayer in his final days. I don't have a date on this. I've done some bad things, but there was some good too. Now I want forgiveness. Barbara and Frank prayed for hours, and she helped them round. Yeah, I cut this off. The burial box was constructed out of drapes. Had a casket custom built for. I wish I had the rest of that article. Surprised I don't. Sinatra, let me die with dignity. Make secret burial plans. And we've been to his grave. Here's his, who's that? Oh, Natalie Sinatra. Multiple injuries, extreme. His mother, that must be the plane crash. Yeah, I understand that he flew his mother to a concert he was doing in Vegas because she wanted there for opening night, and she died in a plane crash. Jet aircraft crash into the Sound of Toronto. That's the same mountain that Dean Martin Jr. crashed into too. Dolly is what they referred as nickname for her, Dolly Sinatra. Gamblers everywhere will rejoice to learn Frank Sinatra's last words, "I'm losing," as he told a nurse moments before his death, where others, I thought he was supposed to have whispered that into his widow's ear. Sinatra Jr., wife, argues for torturer. A lawyer who's married to the son of Frank Sinatra is caused to stir an International War Crimes Tribunal, The Hague, after pursuing an unusual appeal strategy for Bosnian prison camp guard accused of atrocities. Yeah, I don't want to go there. That's a bit much. Yeah, that's about the peanut butter. The nut breath. So here's this funeral again. Nancy was there. Jill St. John, Ben Vereen, Tim Conway, Connie Stevens, Don Rickles. And then they went to Palm Springs with his body. And the most important question, who gets what? Frank Sinatra back in the hospital, February of 98. Family gathered a near fading. This is December of 97, so it didn't fade yet. Famous faces to say, he came to say a last goodbye. Another funeral article. Mia Farrow, Liza Minnelli, Robert Wagner with Jill St. John, Sophia Loren, Angie Dickinson with Sinatra's widow Barbara. Faye Dunaway was there, Gregory Peck. The bitter children over Sinatra's millions. How gross, man. That was an industry too, just his will. Gross. He hung up his toupee and tucked into another tub of ice cream. Sinatra's final last days. In the end, he didn't even recognize old drinking pals. He'd mumble. They'd smile sadly. In March of 94, he collapsed on stage and was taken away in a wheelchair, waving weakly. Yet refused to give up performing until January of 96. My father, Frank, was a coward. Oh, this must be one who claims to be. I love when those guys come out of the woodwork. Not saying it's not true. I'm just saying these people come out of the woodwork saying they're mystery children. Deanna Moore, the secret daughter of Frank Sinatra, was desperately hoping last night that in death he would do what he never did in life. Tell the world in his will. That's what's important. All the time I was researching, Sinatra felt dogged by danger. Grown men were convinced. Oh, that was Kitty Kelly. You know what? She was dogged with danger because that book was trash. It was fantastic. Trash. In fact, he had a word for her, which I can't say. That's one of the bad words. Probably the worst word. But yeah, that's how he referred to her. Sinatra's Surrey girl, secret love child. Oh, this must be the Deanna Moore thing. Yeah, Deanna Moore was born after the singing legend had a passionate flame with sexy actress Ava Bartok during the 50s. In In loving memory, Simply Sinatra, May 17th, 1998. We all swooned when Frank Sinatra crooned. The Beverly Hills home of Frank Sinatra and his wife Barbara has been sold for close to its $7.9 million asking price. That's beautiful. Just north of Sunset, probably, I don't know, maybe 100 and so yards north is where the driveway was. Death certificate. Barbara Sinatra, Cedars-Sinai, cardiac arrest, coronary thrombosis. This is the picture of the house again. 12.9, sold for $8 million. And it's gone. In fact, one time, I wish I had that picture still. I had when Barbara was moving out, there was a big, like box in the driveway and movers were taking it. Right on it was this big label that said B. Marx. And I took a picture of it, but I could never find that one again. And then when I went back, it was gone. Like the guys ripped the label off. Sinatra's last supper in the restaurant he loved. Lord Fletcher Inn in Palm Springs. Okay. You know what? Sinatra is freaking everywhere out here. Everywhere. You can't turn on the radio and not hear him. Fond farewell. Sinatra with staff of his last visit to his favorite restaurant, Lord Fletcher in Palm Springs. Which is gone now, too, isn't it, Troy? Didn't they shut it down? I think they did.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. 21-year-old bride, Mia Farrow, didn't look like a flower child. That's 51. He was 51, she was 21. You, my dear, are the child Frank Sinatra never had. That's what Ava Gardner said. Barbara Sinatra, what Mia Farrow did in secret. Mia Farrow delivered a devastating slap in the face to a grieving widow, secretly placing a treasured ring from Frank near the singer's heart shortly before he was buried. Then a spiteful Mia teamed with close pal Nancy Jr. to make sure Barbara would learn about the expression of undying love for Old Blue Eyes. It was a deliberate stab in the back to poor Barbara. Frank's outraged widow exploded. I let Mia attend the funeral as a gesture of kindness, and she repaid me by betraying me. Because no one else can love. No one else can love that person. He betrayed me. Sinatra dies. Oh, that's from Port Huron, Michigan. So my parents had a house on the lake north of Detroit, and that must have been from there. Old Blue Eyes is dead. Since Frank Sinatra's death, there has been much mention of the Rat Pack, comprising of Frank, Peter Lawford, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. A fifth member, Joey Bishop, is still alive. How did he become associated with the others? Humphrey Bogart and his wife Lauren Bacall founded the original group of drinking buddies known as the Holmby Hills Rat Pack, and Frank Sinatra as a packmaster. After Bogart's death in 1957, he continued to lead the pack, whose membership comprised of himself, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford. The four were also close associates. I thought Judy Garland was one of those too, and must have been Sid Luft at that point, but or maybe not. Sounds like a Sid Luft thing. Sinatra built an empire of menace, money, and powerful connections. John Lahr. I like John Lahr. He was a nice guy. I like John Lahr. The gambling, ties to the mob, the booze, the broads, and that name. I can't say that name because that'll get me flagged too. Frank's welcome mat in Palm Springs. Go away. Swinging on a century. Death certificate. Greetings from Richmond. I enjoyed your website. Anyway, I noticed a write-up about Frank, and I remember the day he collapsed on stage, Laurel Street here in Richmond. I've attached a picture of the theater in case you need some. I wonder if I got that when I wrote Nancy a fan letter. The Nancy Sinatra Fan Club. Membership consists of 1 8x10, 3 black and whites, 1 3x5. Quarterly fan club newsletter. Members participate in auctions. Always good job. Okay. Dying Frank. I'm going to meet Ava. Secret behind Old Blue Eye's gravesite. He did it his way. He's one of the greatest entertainers. Final resting place at Desert Memorial Park in California is marked by a ground-level plaque. The best is yet to come. The title of his hit song. Beneath that is the singer's full name, Francis Albert Sinatra. Amazingly, the simple marker was Sinatra's own request. He was very specific, explains a family member. No statue, fountain, or gaudy da-da-da. Sinatra bought the simple plot in the 60s when his father Anthony died. At the time, the legend had a home in nearby Rancho Mirage. Jilly Rizzo, also buried near Sinatra, Sonny Bono, and Ava Gabor is not here. Ava Gabor is in Westwood. Sinatra's secret wish comes true. 2.5 years after his death, movers containing Dad's items into Nancy's home. Inside her Beverly Hills mansion, she and her sister Tina excitedly unpacked the boxes. There were a lot of Frank's clothes and some personal jewelry. There was also a priceless collection of his own favorite intimate photographs that his widow didn't want. Here, legacy of bitterness, more family squabbles, go between the mafia and JFK. Sinatra would have dirty secrets, cheating, gold digging, vicious lies. Frank account. Tina Sinatra admits her dad knew mobsters and fires both barrels at her stepmom. See, it's terrible, and I'm disgusted by their behavior, yet I'm reading it. Tina tells her there's Nancy's vigorous. Tina, long distance Frank. There were pictures of us in the house. Tina portrays Barbara as a schemer who was intent on promoting the interest of her own son, Bobby, from her previous marriage. I got the feeling Barbara didn't care if I dropped dead, says Tina. In her mind, there would be more for her and Bobby. As crude as it is, that's the truth. The Sinatra 9 million pound rat pad. Frank, Marilyn, and Old Wives' Tales. Shorthand, the story goes like this. Just before Marilyn's death, she, Frank, Lawford, and Giancana meet at Frank's Calneva Lodge Resort Hotel. Lawford has the task of telling Marilyn that Bobby Kennedy has dumped her. She becomes drunk and distraught and threatens to blow the gaff on the lascivious Kennedys, which will also expose connivings between the CIA and the Mafia. Complicated. Sinatra, the Final Curtain, 8-page souvenir book bonus. Jilly Rizzo. My Pal Frank by Bob Hope. That says a lot, I think. How he really died. How did he really die? As I understand it, Barbara didn't tell the kids, Nancy and Tina and Frank Jr., that he was dying, and they were at home watching the last episode of Seinfeld, which figures into his death certificate, actually, yes. They were watching Seinfeld. They had no idea their father was dying at Cedars. Lifeless Frank was rushed to the world-famous Cedars from his home, where he had finally lost his long battle against cancer. That wasn't even in the death certificate. There had been much wild speculation about what happened. Sinatra pulled out life support tubes in the hospital before he wanted to die. He had a few final emotional words in the emergency room with wife Barbara. He opened his eyes, looked. He uttered the words, "Oh, dear Lord, oh, mother," before his death. That's the first I read that one. Oh my God, look at, she went up to him and put her arm around him, and he was startled. He sort of jumped a bit, and his eyes looked scared. He was staring as though he was looking through her. These are great stories. Larry King, Henry Silva, Nina Sinatra, Nancy, fought to the end. And souvenir books, which I'm not going to get into because they probably all say pretty much the same thing. Just reports of his death and the most amazing things and his relationships and his mob connections and the Rat Pack. And that's Frank Sinatra. So, I don't know. This has been interesting. I hope that you were amused for a moment out of this Frank Sinatra business. But say goodbye because they're going into eBay. So, singer, lover, fighter, legend, women he loved, broads he hated. And if you want to know more about Frank Sinatra, actually, you might consider watching or listening to my interview with Virginia Graham, who was the person who, I'll link it at the end of this video, who was the person who Susan Atkins confessed to in prison, and she blew the Manson case wide open. She had a relationship with Frank Sinatra, a very casual, but she knew him very well enough, she says. And she's got great stories about Frank Sinatra, including some very intimate details, because she let me ask her anything I wanted to. And she said, "I never seen anything like it." And on that happy note, thanks for watching, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. Until next time.
You heard me.